There's just something about these early kickoffs that brings a different Milan onto the field. We all remember that match from back in 2011, Milan versus Lecce. Lecce scored 3 goals in the first half. Milan came back in the second half to score 4 goals, a 10-minute hat-trick from Kevin Prince Boateng. And then there's something about these matches against Parma that also brings out a different Milan side. We all remember that backheel goal by Jeremy Menez, a 5-4 scoreline, a 9-goal thriller between these two sides. So now you combine the wildness of an early kickoff, the wildness of a Milan-Parma match, and you create history. For the first time in the history of Serie A, Milan won a match coming back from behind, scoring 2 goals after the 90th minute. And if the game itself wasn't wild enough for you, Milan's coach Sergio Conceicao and club captain Davide Calabria almost got into a physical altercation after the match. Now, once again, no 4 takeaways from today's match. I'm going to bring back the old concept that we used in the previous video: the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think we all know which category the fight between Calabria and Conceicao sits in, but let's kick things off with the good things that happened in today's match. Easily the first good thing that has happened is the last 2 matches that have been played by Strahinja Pavlovic. The performance that he put in the match against Girona, I put out this poll for you guys. Before the match against Girona, over the weekend, we're all being told that this is going to be Strahinja Pavlovic's final game. Milan signed him in August of 2024, and in January of 2025, he's already going to be on his way out. Probably not even getting enough opportunities. But the 2 matches that he has been given a chance in, the match against Girona, this poll that I put out, do you guys agree that Milan should still be selling the player? Almost 70% of you said that no, they should probably be keeping him. And after the performance that he put in the match today, I'm probably going to put that poll out once again. And I have a strong feeling the number is going to be even higher than 70%, because today, Strahinja Pavlovic was arguably the man of the match, if not the man of the match, because he was not just involved on the defensive side, and he was seriously involved on the defensive side, but he was also really involved on the attacking front. 2 of the 3 goals came because of Pavlovic. First of all, in the first half, the goal that Christian Pulisic scored, that penalty was won by Pavlovic. Now, he didn't really do much. It was a gift kind of from the goalkeeper, but he was still involved in it. He's the one who got in the way of the goalkeeper that forced him to take such an aggressive action that ended up fouling him, and Milan picks up the penalty kick, and Mr. Reliable Christian Pulisic steps up and scores the goal. After that, all the defensive work this guy put in, I don't even want to go through specific moments of him tackling and stopping and blocking shots and sliding tackles, and you love the passion from the guy. He's got that Eastern European vibe. He's not very calm and collected. He's somebody who's very expressive. When he makes a good tackle, he's gonna let the entire San Siro know, hey, let's go, get behind this. If I were to show you my notes right now, I was running out of space to be able to write good things about this player. 50 seconds block somebody, 53 minutes, 48 seconds block somebody, 30 slide tackle. It's all excellent defensive work. And then if you look at that opportunity that he created in injury time for Luka Jovic, that he missed, that was an opportunity created by Pavlovic. So he helped Milan, scored the first goal by winning the penalty kick. He set up something for Luka Jovic in the dying minutes to win the game. And when that didn't work, he set up yet another goal for Samuel Chukwueze. And that's why I'm going to put this out on Twitter. So make sure to follow me at Football Kush there. But I have to ask you guys, should Pavlovic really be considered a sellable player right now? The second good that happened today, for me, this guy's probably going to be in a couple of categories today for different reasons. But I'm going to say Davide Calabria was a good performer, if not one of the best performers, really, from today's match. We're always a little bit hesitant to give a lot of compliments to Calabria because we're so used to watching him play not the best that even when he performs well, sometimes you're wondering if it actually was that good. But yes, it actually was that good from Calabria today. He was also, again, good on the defensive side and good on the attacking front. Around 9 minutes and 54 seconds, he put in a cross for, I think, Christian Pulisic that then went to Alvaro Morata, who headed it, and their goalkeeper stopped it, went out for a corner kick. 18 minutes, defensive interception, and not just a defensive interception. He then threaded the ball to Rafael Leao that led to a corner kick for Milan. Constantly turned defensive stops into attacks for Milan. So really, all in all, Davide Calabria also was a solid performer. We're going to come back to the controversial stuff about Calabria in the later part of the video, but from a footballing standpoint, it was actually a very good performance. I put out this question to you guys before. Should Milan be considering, giving him a renewal just to have him as a backup player? I don't know how things are going to go now with Sergio Conceicao tension, but should Milan be considering giving him a renewal? He's a player who's been here for 10 years. He understands the fabric of Milan. He understands the DNA of the club. He's gone through the Benta era, lifted 3 trophies at this point in time with the club. So should we just be kicking him and throwing him aside, or giving him another opportunity? Hey, you're going to be a backup player, not the number 1 option, but here's a contract renewal for you. The third good, another defensive player. 2 fairly good substitutions made by the coach in Sergio Conceicao. I'm going to give one to Bartesaghi. I thought that when the substitution of, Theo Reijnders was made, there were question marks still. Is Bartesaghi really going to be able to fill in this role? Is he going to be able to do a good job? Not Jimenez, for sure. Bartesaghi, he was good. He was very good. Around 55.5 minutes, there was a cross that came in, I think from Ismail Benacer, and he made a first-time pass. It was a long cross that came in. He didn't try to take a touch and control it. First-time pass across the face of goal. If a Milan attacker was in the right position, something we've been saying for 5 months now, they could have probably tapped the ball in. Then it was him I think that Pavlovic goal that was ruled off as offside, I believe that was also created by Bartesaghi. But then the third goal, the final goal, the Chukwueze goal that Milan scored, that was created by, well, at least driven out and crossed in by Bartesaghi. It was created a little bit more by Pavlovic, you could say, but still Bartesaghi, had the hockey assist essentially on that. The next good thing from today's game, it's going to be a quick one because I don't remember a lot of individual moments where Tijani Reijnders was playing really well in the game. I think he was just very involved from an attacking standpoint. I think he got even more involved once Milan decided to take off Theo Reijnders and Rafael Leao, because I think it opened up a little bit more space for him. He had more attacking responsibility put on him. But I think overall throughout the entirety of the game, Reijnders, as we've been crying out, I think in the last game too, previous matches, we've mentioned, where's Tijani Reijnders? We want him back. Here he is. This is the guy that we'd been waiting to see back. He was involved in the creative phase of the game. He was creating a lot of attacking opportunities for the team, took a bunch of shots today, even missed opportunities today. One of them went right across the face of goal, one of them right over the crossbar. But when it mattered most, 90 minutes plus 2 minutes of added time, the way that his positioning of that shot into goal was just very crisp, very classy, very Dutch-like. There was just something about him just driving the ball forward. He didn't try to go in between the goalkeeper's legs. He didn't go for the power. He just went for a very well-placed finesse, calm, collected, and a soft shot. And that was the difference maker. That's the one that lit up the fire underneath Milan and made them believe that, hey, you know what? We just have enough time. 4 minutes, we can probably pull a winner here too. I've talked about this guy in the past. I've mentioned some things I might have to repeat again today. And, I've received mixed responses from you guys in the comment section. I feel like Musah is actually a really good player, in my opinion. I think he is still a pretty rough around the edges. He needs to be sculpted and perfected more as a player. He's still extremely young. I don't even know if he's 23 years old yet. So he's still a very young player. But I think there's just something about him. He reads the game really well. He understands when to drop the shoulder and, drive the ball forward. He also understands really well, he reads the movement of the opposition player and finds a way to be able to, wiggle his way past them. Sometimes he just allows him to commit into a certain direction and he just drops his weight and goes the other side. I think he has the ability to move a certain way. He is a driver of the ball. He's a fairly good passer of the ball too. It's the same thing that we've talked about. It's just the decision making. And I think the one moment that was the most egregious was 27 minutes and 40 seconds. He did so much of the hard work to hold on to the ball. He may have even won the ball and drove the ball. And then that back heel from him, it's so needless. It was such a childish thing to do, where it's like, what are you doing? You did all the hard work and you did a good job at it. Don't mess it up now. So that decision making of his can be very frustrating to watch, but that pass for Tijani Reijnders. I mean, as I said it, I don't know what's up with these two American guys. It was Pulisic in the Supercopa final against Inter with that pass to Rafael Leao, and now you feel like it was Yunus Musah with that pass to Tijani Reijnders to score that goal. Both of them, again, in the dying minutes of the game. Weird connections there, but that ball from Musah, I think the Parma defense really helped him. They kind of just opened up a gate for him to be able to pass the ball. He just had to be reasonably competent to be able to get the ball through that little, passageway that they had created for him. But that's not his fault. They opened up the pathway and he let it rip through it. And, he passed the ball out to Tijani Reijnders that led to the equalizer. The next good thing, this one's going to be a quick one. It's still the winner. You have to give it to Samuel Chukwueze. He found himself in the perfect position and in a very lucky position, really, because that positioning of the Parma player, I mean, you can't even really blame him. Their coach came out and said that, we could have been better on that offside line. But that player was trying to cover Bartesaghi, who was making a wide run. You knew he was going to cross the ball in, so you can't really blame the Parma defender for playing Chukwueze onside. But he found himself in the perfect position at the perfect time, because his performance throughout the game for Chukwueze wasn't actually very good. It was not good at all. But this is also a player that is coming back from injury, and sometimes just luck is on your side. He found himself in that spot. Pavlovic's shot was not at goal. It hit pretty much right to Samuel. And he even sort of kneed the ball over Suzuki, who sort of parried it into his own goal. But around the 72nd minute, there was one frustrating thing that Chukwueze did. He lost the ball. Milan was holding, I think it was Benacer who passed the ball to him. It wasn't really a good passing position, but the way that Chukwueze lost the ball, he could have passed it all the way back. He could have gone back to center back, but no, he wanted to hold on to it. Parma won possession, they went on the counter, and it forced a very difficult save out of Mike Maignan. And those moments Milan has conceded goals from. We've seen that happen time and time again. And the final piece in the good, this is an easy one. You're going to have to give this to Christian Pulisic. For a lot of people, they felt like he was the man of the match. He definitely has a case for it. I think outside of Pavlovic, it probably is Christian. Calabria was good, but he wasn't as much of a crucial piece as Pavlovic and Pulisic were. So I think either of these two guys can make a claim for it. He only had one moment in the first 3 minutes, I think 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Rafael Leao may have set him up really well, or it could have even been Alvaro Morata. And Pulisic just sort of kicked his foot over the ball. It was in a really good position. He could have scored a goal from there. He didn't, but from that point onwards, in the first half, Christian was the best player that Milan had. Around 7 minutes, there was a really good looping ball over the top from Christian that I think went to maybe Alvaro Morata. Morata passed it out to Reijnders. He got a shot off. It went for, I believe, a corner kick or a good defensive interception by Parma, but it was a great chance created by Christian. Around 8 minutes, 13 seconds, there was a silly ball lost from Rafael Leao. I mean, Leao we're going to discuss later, but there was a bad ball lost from Leao. And it was Pulisic the rescue on the defensive end of the game. He was the one who intercepted the ball. And it was a dangerous counterattack that was started by Parma. And if it wasn't for Christian, they had a really good opportunity to score a goal. So started off by helping out in attack and helped out in defense. 10 minutes, 55 seconds. I mean, we're talking about in the first 10 minutes, this guy was all over the place. He created an excellent opportunity for Matteo Gabbia. Gabbia, I think, just kicked the ball, or he completely missed his shot. But Gabbia had the perfect chance to be able to score a goal. Would have been a certain assist for Christian. Great opportunity created for his teammate. And around 22 minutes, 13 seconds, there was this drive from Pulisic. I mean, there was the shot eventually came from Rafael Leao. I think we all know. Leao was in a great opportunity to be able to score a goal. He hit the ball over the crossbar, and it wasn't even like, it wasn't like a great close control necessarily from Christian where you're weaving your way past multiple defenders. It was him just being on top of the ball, just forcing himself to stay on top of the ball. The Parma defenders were getting in the way. They were kicking the ball. They were hitting the ball. They were trying to get the ball out of his way, but somehow just luckily, luck favors the brave, but it just kept dropping to Christian and he just kept running with the ball. It fell eventually to Leao, and Leao, he didn't really do much with it. Then at the half an hour mark, pretty much, Pavlovic gets the push in the back from Suzuki. Pulisic steps up. This is a player who hadn't scored a goal, I believe, in 9 Serie A matches. In 9 Serie A matches, Christian hadn't scored a goal, which was his longest dry spell since he joined the club. So sometimes we've been not necessarily critical. We're just calling out the fact that he hasn't been scoring scoring enough goals. Some of you guys get a little bit upset about that, but that stat should tell you that, there's no favoritism or, purposely being anti-Christian. It's just, it wasn't a good phase for him from a scoring standpoint in Serie A. And he broke that spell today. 2 penalty attempts from Pulisic for Milan, 2 penalty goals. Now that Fiorentina match pisses you off even more because we missed 2 penalties. Now he stepped up to take 2 of them, and it was a perfect penalty today. And I shouldn't even be glancing over that. It was actually a really good penalty today. He picked his spot. Suzuki jumped that way, but it was so precise, so perfect that Christian scored that. And you could see it in his face. After he scored that goal, he had the expression in his face, like the confidence and just that frustration coming out that, man, I haven't scored a goal in 9 games. Here you go. That's a perfect penalty strike for you guys. I do think, however, that in the second half, once Leao and Theo were taken off and Pulisic was forced to play from the right to the left, I feel like at this point in time, we probably see that Pulisic is just best on the right. We've tried him as a center attacking midfielder. We've tried him a few games as a left winger too, whenever they take off Leao or Leao's not playing. I think he still plays his best football on the right wing, because in the second half, after Leao was taken off, Christian was a totally different player. He was fairly absent in the match until that minute, 96th minute. It was him. If you watch the replay again, he asked for the ball, then he asked Bartasagi to make an overlapping run. He passed it out to Bartasagi, who then crossed it, and Milan ended up scoring a goal. So even in the final goal that the Rossoneri scored, there was a stamp of involvement from Christian. But yes, to me, he was very quiet throughout the entirety of the second half, but he stepped out when it mattered most. And for that reason, Christian Pulisic is, basically the final good thing that happened today. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let's jump into some bad things that happened from today's game. Number one has to be Theo Reijnders. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be, blaming that goal that Milan conceded, the first goal that Milan conceded on Theo. He's definitely partly at fault, but he also did take a very awkward slip. When it becomes a pattern that a lot of goals keep coming from Milan's left side, you do have to put the blame on him. Today, maybe he got a little bit unlucky, but he still didn't have a good performance whatsoever. Once he slipped, the Parma player then, made that run. He didn't close him down, fast enough, or none of his teammates really helped in closing him down either, and he scored the goal. The weird part is that the match against Girona, something very similar happened. That was just poor positioning from Theo. Girona scored a goal that was ruled offside by the toe of their attacker. In that situation, Theo was sort of bailed out by the offside trap. Today, it was pretty much the same goal. It was a very well-placed strike from the Parma player, and it was poor positioning, a little bit of bad luck to take that slip, but still poor positioning from Theo, and a lack of attempt in wanting to close down their attacker. You could just see something wasn't clicking quite as much for Theo today, and that's why he was taken off at halftime. And the final bad thing that happened from today's game, Rafa Leao. Let me say this very easily and very comfortably. I think today's performance from Rafa may have been his worst performance that I've ever seen. He couldn't forget about making a run or attacking or trying to get in the box or take a shot, or, he took a shot but it went over the crossbar. The guy couldn't string basic passes together today. He kept losing possession over and over again, trying elaborate passes and then eventually just trying simple passes. You just sometimes know that it's not your day. And if the game would have ended 2-1, maybe our opinion 2-1 in favor of Parma, maybe our opinion of Conceicao's decision to take off Leao and Theo may have been a little bit different. The fact that they won it, you can maybe be more accepting of it and understanding of it. But truly, those two players played really poorly. If I even read my notes, 8 minutes, 13 seconds, lost the ball in attack, led to a Parma counter. Sorry, my throat is still recovering. 22 minutes, 13 seconds. He lost that ball that Pulisic bailed him out on, and he won the possession back. 43 minutes, 40 seconds, lost the ball with a needless backheel pass. 45 minutes, lost the ball in a simple pass. Makes sense for Conceicao to look at that performance and say, hey, bro, it's probably just not your day today. Just come off. I don't really like fans when they watch Leao score a goal in the last game and so many games in the recent past, and then they come out and say, oh, it wasn't that good, it's just one goal, and you guys explain it away when he performs well, but when he performs poorly, everybody's now putting him under the microscope. To me, it was a bad performance, no way around it. He's clearly back in form. Today, he didn't really look back in form, but let's be mindful. When he plays badly, let's call him playing badly. But the day that he scores a goal and helps the team win games, let's not explain it away and say it's not that significant. Let's be a little bit more objective, call the bad, and the good. Which brings us to the ugly category. And the ugly category, we have to start this one with Sergio Conceicao and Davide Calabria's fight. Not start it with, that's the only thing we have in it today. I do feel like maybe I could have put Conceicao in the good category, considering the fact that Milan has won a lot of games from behind. So, let's just make that addition of Conceicao. There is definitely an attitude change that this coach has put into this team that is making them play this way. We saw this happen 0 times against Fonseca. Not a hyperbole. Literally, statistically, 0 times Milan came back to win a game. I think they drew maybe 3 times and lost 6 of the games. With Conceicao, this has become a pattern now. It's not the pattern that we want. We want easier wins against weaker sides. But the fact that this team doesn't give up, this is a mindset thing that is clearly coming from the coach. So let's give Conceicao his due there. But you just don't do what he did. A lot of people might blame Calabria. I have to blame Conceicao, because you just don't run up to your club captain. You don't run up to a player on your team. The oldest player this team has in terms of having played at the club for the longest period of time. and on camera, confront them and have that type of an altercation with them. I put a lot of that on Conceicao. Now, the one thing that I'm learning about Conceicao that is very interesting is that something like this has happened before. During his time at Porto, back in 2019, Porto took a 2-0 lead against the opposition. Their name was Portimonense. I'm just going to call them the opposition. But they took a 2-0 lead against them. They allowed them to come back, score 2 goals. It was 2-2. And then it was a late, dramatic winner that led to a 3-2 scoreline, just like Milan Parma. And after that late 3-2 win, Conceicao did pretty much the exact same thing with a player on his team by the name of Shoya Nakajima. He went after him, started attacking him, but he's also done this before. So the one thing that we know is that the guy wears his heart on the sleeve. What happened? Now, we don't really know what happened. There were some reports that apparently a few players, including Calabria, including a lot of other players that played in today's game, including Pavlovic, I think, a few players that went for a concert the day before yesterday that apparently Conceicao didn't really like. Now, I don't think, in the articles that I've also read, agree that reaction from Conceicao doesn't really warrant that crime doesn't warrant that reaction suddenly in the 96th minute of a match. But it is possible that there was some frustration inside of Conceicao that came out because Calabria got upset when maybe he was subbed off or something happened on the bench. And then he already was frustrated with the player for going for this concert a couple days back. So then he let everything sort of come out and reacted on the field with Davide. But to me, you have to put that in the ugly category because you don't want your coach, irrespective of how much we like or dislike a player, to be confronting a player in public like that. You do it in the locker. You do it behind closed doors. You just don't do it in front of the cameras. And even the player's reaction, you could see the way that Fofana was trying to get him away, the way that his assistants were trying to turn. Even if you look at Pavlovic was arguably the best one. He watched the cameras, and he's a big guy. He's a tall guy. So he used his frame to pretty much hide everything and made a little, a group hug around these players. And one of the assistants came in and started jumping and trying to pretend like we're celebrating the win. And it just turned into an ugly situation. And then if you watch Theo Reijnders very carefully, he pulled Conceicao away, put his arm around Conceicao, was, trying to hide his words from the camera so no one could see what he was saying. And clearly he was telling him, hey, the cameras are on, let's sort this out later, we'll do it like family after. And I think that's the part that I want to touch on. Really not want to get cliche about this and get corny about it, but in my opinion, as these guys talked about it, like, hey, we're a family. Sometimes you fight. And Conceicao said that, hey, if my kids, it's like if your kids are misbehaving at a restaurant, you're going to let them know. And I'm a guy who's going to let them know that they're misbehaving. Calabria seemed to take it fairly well. He came out, gave out a couple of interviews and said, hey, this is what happened and we cleared it up. We're both passionate people. But the thing that I was saying earlier is what I would say. If you're truly a family, if you're a tight family, in my opinion, you can either let these things sort of slide and not talk, not have a confrontation, let things stew, and then you change your relationship with people, or you can have a family dynamic where you confront each other and you let the other person know that, hey, you're not happy about this, but at the end of the day, you settle it down, you figure it out, and you move on. That's the way that I sort of like things. If you're having disagreements, if you're having issues, have a conversation and move on from them. You don't need to let them stew. Now, do you really want to do it camera like the Kardashians, or you want to do it behind closed doors inside the locker room? I think I would prefer it in the locker room, but it's clear that Conceicao is the kind of coach who's going to let you know when he's unhappy with you, and he's going to ideally move on from it and start fresh from the next day onwards. But you guys let me know in the comment section, how do you feel about that confrontation? Do you think Conceicao overstepped the line, or do you blame Calabria and you think he's the one at fault in this situation? So there you have it, Milanisti. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly from today's game. Overall, wasn't the best performance from Milan. You don't need a desperate win against Parma at home in the dying minutes to be able to pick up the 3 points. But the good thing is that this team is exhibiting a never give up, never say die spirit. And when you're sitting in 8th place and you need to climb back into the top 4, ideally, you need a team that has the spirit that doesn't give up. Today, Milan climbed the table a little bit. They went from 8th place to 7th place. 5th place Juventus have a game in hand and are only 3 points ahead of Milan. So if Milan were to beat Bologna, they would be level on points in 5th place with Juventus. Fiorentina's obviously still in the mix too, but a team that has this attitude where they don't give up is exactly what you need at this point in time with 16 matches left in the season and results desperately needed for the club. I'll see you guys after the final league stage Champions League match, or if there's an update on Santiago Jimenez or any other player for that matter. And as always from my side, Forza Milan, grazie mille, ciao tutti. Did you know Benito Mussolini put an end to the existence of Inter Milan? And the only reason why AC Milan is called what it is because of the fascist leader? What led to the breakup of AC Milan and Inter Milan in that restaurant behind the Duomo is fascinating in itself. But what is even more fascinating